What's cracking, everybody? Look at this baby face. Look at these baby blues. Not always blue. Sometimes they're like a yellow or a gray, depending on the shirt I wear. They're kind of like chameleons. Chameleon eyeballs. No, I'm not reptilian. Sorry. So, I wanted to talk today about kind of a change of thought, change of mind, because I noticed in the American church, we do things a certain way based on business. And you can't get away from that. I know you'll see a lot of people get aggravated with a church, which I'm going to, for this video, rephrase for a house of worship, because, I mean, we're the church, so it just makes it easier to clarify that I'm talking specifically about the building, the place we go to. So, most churches, or I'm sorry, houses of worship are under the tax code as a nonprofit, a 501c3. And an issue with that, which it's great for now. It's good. It's a kind of course, you see it abused sometimes, but it's a great loophole in the tax system for people that don't make a lot of money. It's a non-profit organization. You're out there to help. We're out there to help each other, and that's what it's based around. Still a good program, but there's a couple downfalls. I think if we were able to get out of that, we could avoid them. I don't find it a huge issue. Now, I know many churches that are established already for years aren't going to want to exactly go ahead and do a major overhaul, but I think it's kind of a mind transformation we need to move out of, kind of just in case. But let me just hit the points real quick and then I'll explain. So one is 501c3 can be taken away by the government, and two is, even though it's great for taxes, it also limits the house of worship for making money. So let's go back to the 501c3. 501c3, there are a few ways to lose your nonprofit status, and two of them, of course, one's not filing for like 3 years. Another is if you promote a political candidate, or let's say you lobby, or you're promoting certain political ideas, which right now it really hasn't been an issue. But the issue could come up, and I'm sure it will come up, and this is what people are thinking ahead, are saying, hey, there's going to be a point to where everybody running in office, there's not going to be a good choice. So let's say the city or town that the house of worship is in, there's some cruddy popular guys that are about to get voted back in. If that place, the pastor or whoever, promotes a specific candidate running for that position, maybe they are a good person, maybe it's not even from a religious point of view, but it's, hey, this person, obviously they love God, but they're also helpful to the community. They're not corrupt. They don't have guile on their mind all the time, but all the other candidates do. So we're going to promote this guy because he affects our city. He affects where we live. And so we should support this person that is a believer. Well, you can't do that because you lose your 501c3 status. Your nonprofit goes out the window. Because of that, it can make a body less effective if you can't get out there and say the truth, because truth is important. If you can't get out there as a leader in front of a congregate, you're a pastor. If you're not able to go out there and say the truth of the matter, then you're maybe even hurting your community. because kind of that fear of losing this status, this nonprofit status. That's the downfall of it. Aside from the, there's benefits of not having to pay taxes, and everybody else that contributes, they get tax breaks and benefits also. But that's kind of the trap. The federal government loves to keep people in line with incentives. Hey, do everything we say. We don't want you taking over anything. Hey, we don't want godly people changing the country for the good. So we'll give them nonprofit, and as soon as they start speaking political, they want to make political changes, we'll just cut them out. That's really the control of the government and what they can do. I haven't researched to see if this has actually happened to anybody, any churches or houses of worship. But the potential is at least there. I'm going to say it has probably happened at least once, or else it wouldn't be in the tax code. The government's always reactive, not proactive. So something has happened in the past, and so they had to make these rules. But on the side note, okay, you're thinking, what are you talking about? If we're not supposed to be a nonprofit, what are we going to do? People are going to be taxed for money. Okay, it is a business. Whether you want to say it is or isn't, running a house of worship, it has to be treated like a business. For one, for two, the government's going to see you as a business. If you're dealing with money whatsoever, you're a different entity in the government's eyes, and if there's any money exchanged, they got to know about it. So you got to act like a business. I mean, realistically, you do. It's not just one person going out having a ministry. When you have major bills due and you're providing functions for the community, doing outreach, sending off people to go minister to Africa or Indonesia, wherever, it takes a lot of capital if you're actually supporting them. So here's the good part, though, and this is where we limit ourselves in this country as far as gains, because let's say you started an entity and that business, then that's what backed the church. There wouldn't be all these donations needed. The corporate entity or LLC, whatever you want to call it, could support the church. That is what supports the church. This business that sells Christian books, that makes money, again, we're a business, it invests the money, and yes, you're going to be taxed, but the potential for actually making money, you're not ever getting in any gray area. You're never going to run into people like, oh, well, it's nonprofit, but the pastor's driving a Maserati. You know what? If you actually run it like a business and there's a CEO, he's going to make more, that's not an issue. All the taxes are being paid. It's a business. There's no fine line to cross there. It makes a big thick line to where, oh, okay, that's where we stand. Because a lot of people have a hard time dealing with how churches are run in that way. But every church is going to be run that way. I'm sorry, house of worship is going to be run in that manner. And let me back up. I won't say every. I do know there are some houses of worship that aren't nonprofit. They don't have that 501c3. I've never been to one or seen one. I've just read about them. They do exist. And so think about this. I'm going to use my buddy, Joel Osteen, which everybody knows, we're best friends. That him and Elevation Church, they've done the same thing. Okay? They don't take any money, but all their money is made on book sales, right? So they write these books. What happens, the issue is when the church buys up 1 million of these books, or however many hundreds of thousands of these books, and then gives those books out or sells them themselves. So you're not getting paid by the church, but the church is still, the money's going to you, and then it kind of bumps at the same time. That's how all these guys get bestsellers, because they write books and all their churches buy them up, and then all of a sudden, they're on the New York Times bestseller list because the house of worship bought them. So you're doing the same thing. It's almost, it brings an issues that have been brought up. So what if we just avoid that altogether? Why can't a business support the church? The business could invest the money, any gains can be reinvested, and it just totally fits. There's no issues coming into where people want to pull out scripture. Obviously, our American church is not a mirror of the New Testament, the old original way of how a church is ran. We've Americanized it completely. So what if we just change it? And it could be better, potentially. Okay, let's say you are starting out. You're starting up a new house of worship, 501c3. It helps you a lot. It establishes you. Maybe you're not a businessman. Maybe you don't know how all that works. Okay, use it. Use it while you can. But there comes what happens? What happens if you start a house of worship and then you feel strongly, you're like, man, I have to speak out against this person or for this person politically. You're creating you have to face this fear that shouldn't be there. Because it's either, hey, I do what I feel like I should be. Maybe God's telling me to say this, but I'm not going to. Because then my church will lose its status. My house of worship. This thing I've created, now I have to start paying taxes. And you don't know what to do after that. That's not really being as much freedom. You don't have as much freedom. Anytime someone tells you can't do something, you're not free. So, let us be free, or more free. Yeah, taxes are there. What did Jesus say? Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. It's his money anyway. It's a fiat currency. None of that really matters. So, those are my thoughts on it. I think it would be beneficial. That's all I'm saying. I think it would be beneficial if we changed the way we do stuff, and that's one to where, hey, get the fear of that out of the body, out of these houses of worship. People show up to, they want to hear the truth, so let's tell them the truth. Let's not be scared to speak the truth and promote actually good, godly people. Let's not be scared of that. So, any thoughts or comments on that, you can comment, reply. I might put this on Facebook too, separately. No, I'll just keep it on my page, share the link. And that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this talk. You probably might disagree with it. That's okay. It's for discussion. I'm always up for discussion and ideas. Anybody that knows everything doesn't know everything. So, tell me what you think. If you don't like it, if you do like it, maybe you foresee other problems I haven't seen, or maybe you have some extra info to throw in there. But anyway, have a good rest of your week, your day, and I guess that closes it out. I got nothing else. Shalom.